Awesome. Okay. Well, super excited to be here with you all. Um, some of my very favorite Zooms is when it's a small, intimate group and I can see everybody's face. And the beauty of having you guys earn this call and it being such a small group is I really want this to be interactive. So as I'm going through these questions, which y'all had some good questions, as I'm going through these and you want me to expand on something or you have a follow-up question about it, seriously, like unmute. I want this to be like we're all gathered together with some decaf coffee or tea, if that's your thing, sitting around in the living room, just chatting with each other. So that is what this is all about. This is all about you and where you are in your business. And I want to be as helpful to you all as possible in this time together. So thank you for having me. I know many of you, I've hugged many of your necks. For those that don't feel like you know me as well, just a quick background. So Carissa and Megan Goff are both my level threes, and I adore them deeply. You have some amazing leaders in Carissa and Megan for sure. So Carissa and Megan asked me, I guess it was like a month ago, if I would be willing to do this for those that earned the incentive. And so I'm so proud of you. I mean, honestly, like, way to go. This is the cream of the crop right here. And I love getting to hear about each of you and what you're bringing to the business, your consistency, your heart, and just where you're at. So again, honored, enjoyed to be here. I have been with Plexus for 9.5 years. I cannot even believe that. When I say that out loud, I'm like, that just doesn't compute. My oldest is in the living room reading. She's 11. She just turned 2 the day before I joined. And so that just shows like how much life has happened. I've had 2 more babies since then. And just a lot of life has happened since starting Plexus. So I actually joined for the products. Just a little backstory on me. I was not interested in the business because I had done network marketing in the past and did not have a great story with it. So I did Arbonne. Have you heard of Arbonne? Really great products. Honestly, I love the products. There's still some today that I enjoy, but the compensation plan was very difficult to create what I now call a legacy business. I had worked that business for 2 years and built a really great income of around $2,000 a month. And when I got pregnant with my first, I was really, really sick. And so I just pulled way back from a business that I was working hard daily. And my income went from 2,000 a month, you guys, to 0 in less than 6 months. And so my idea of network marketing was this doesn't work, or it works for a teeny tiny bit of people. And so when I fell in love with Plexus's products, I was not interested in the business until I shared it with a few people. I got a paycheck. It was $240. I was doing mystery shopping at the time for like Papa John's Pizza, Wendy's, Arby's, all these different fast food places, which no wonder I couldn't get rid of my baby weight, which is why I started Plexus in the first place. And I got that $240 and I was thinking, how did I do that? Like, what's up with this compensation plan? I have to do about 10 mystery shops to make that kind of money, right? And so that night, I sat down with my laptop. I read through the compensation plan like multiple times, and I thought, this is different. I started comparing it to what I had seen in the past, other companies I had researched in the past when I thought, maybe I'll dip my toe in, but then decided not to. And I thought there's something different about this compensation plan. And so I jumped in. Now, did I have struggles along the way? Yes. And we'll probably talk about some of those because of some of these questions. But I was very committed for the majority of my business because I knew there was something here that it was different than what I had experienced in the past. And that has been my story and my team's story. So, okay, we're going to jump right in. I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background of where I came from, but y'all, there are so many good questions here. I'm not sure if we'll get through all of them, but if we don't get to yours and I don't answer it just through conversation, I want you to feel free to message me. A lot of you, or a couple of you, can attest to this. I will respond to you and answer whatever questions you have. Relationships are my fuel. Relationships and connection are really important to me. And I want you to always feel like I'm an open door for you. So, okay. So someone asked, I thought this is a fun question. Tell us what you have an assistant for and what do they do for you? And so some of you may not be in a place where you would want to hire an assistant, but this is something just to think about for the future because it really has helped me. So what I did when I found an assistant was I identified what are the things in my business that bring me joy, that I love doing. What are the things that are my strengths? And then I looked at what are the things I don't enjoy, that they drain me and they take so much mental space that I don't have as much space left for the things I actually do love. And so I think it was about a month or two, just as things would come up, I would just jot down, oh, I really got a lot out of that. Like, I love doing that. I want that to remain Tamara's. Oh, that was not fun. That took up way too much mental space. And then I felt drained the rest of the day. So just started kind of making notes of those things. And so my assistant now, she does things like pulls perks reports. She pulls different reports of my top enrollers, so that I can look at, who's really leading with new VIPs and whatnot. So I can see who's really running. She pulls things like my 1 through 4 rubies and above, their points every month. So I can see, is someone going backwards? Is someone going frontwards? If I see a spark all of a sudden, let's say someone ended with 200 points one month and the next month they had 275, like there's something going on in that team. So I can reach out to that leader and say, hey, I saw your points jump 75 points this last month. Talk to me. What is going on? Because then maybe I can come in and further encourage or support that team. And so that has been super beneficial. And then a lot of the busy work, like just making graphics for announcements, making graphics to announce recognition on my team page, just things like that really aren't my strong suit. So she's really helped me with things like that. Now, I want to tell you, for people who aren't in a place where you would be hiring an assistant at this point, and for those of you that are thinking about it, again, message me and we can talk more about that. But one thing I've encouraged a couple of my level ones that came to me and said, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't feel like I'm balancing family life. I'm not doing a great job cooking dinner anymore. I don't feel like I'm doing anything well. And so one thing that, and this was like earlier on in the ranks, and she's actually a diamond now, but I remember this conversation. I said, okay, how often are you sitting down with uninterrupted, intentional time in your business? And she was like, well, I mean, I get 20 minutes here, and then I might get 30 minutes here. I'm in the car line here. I'm watching a TV show and I'm messaging. I was like, okay, can you get a babysitter or a grandparent, whatever it is, and keep your kids 2 to 3 hours twice a week? Like, I want that to be your goal, to find someone to do that so that you have intentional time. And you don't just go to Starbucks and go, okay, I'm ready to work. No, you go there with your list of things you are going to accomplish in that time. Someone asked about organization. If you pull up your work time, whether that's an hour, half an hour, 4 hours, you have to have a plan. Y'all are heard the saying, failing to plan is planning to fail. And I have found that so many times. I can accomplish more in 2 hours if I know exactly what I'm headed to accomplish than I can accomplish in 5 when I'm just kind of him-hawing around and thinking, okay, now who else do I need to message? And oh no, does that customer, is her order about to go out? Do I need to follow up with her? But have we all had moments like that? I can't tell you how many moments that I've sat down for my work time and then I'm like, yeah, okay, well, let me look what's going on Instagram. Who have I not talked to in a while? Let me scroll through and see if I followed up with that customer. I mean, truly, I you're probably laughing at me, but I've had those days. And so I don't do that anymore. If I get my special uninterrupted, intentional time, you better bet I'm going there with a plan. And it feels so good to turn that computer off after 2 hours and go, I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. And guess what? Now the rest of the day, I'm not thinking about, I didn't get this done. I've still got to do this. I've still got to do this. No, I can be present. I can be present in what I'm doing. And the biggest road to burnout is not having intentional work time. And so you're always carrying it with you because you're never getting everything accomplished you want to. And then the most important side of that is you're not present in the moment. I know all of you, regardless if your kids are grown, they're young, you're spending time with your spouse. Like if you're not having intentional time outside of plexus, you will burn out. And if you're not getting work accomplished, you will burn out because you're going to, I guess I shouldn't speak for you. I'll just say for me and many leaders I've talked to, because you're carrying that around and you're constantly thinking, I didn't accomplish this and now I'm not present here, because you just feel pulled in so many directions. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You're spinning like so many plates and like trying to keep them all afloat. So I don't want that for you. I want you to have intentional organized time and then intentional present time with your families, right? Your spouse, your pets, whatever the case, a good book sitting on the couch. It's just so important. So I think even if you're not in the place where you would hire someone, be intentional, figure out those spaces in your week and get the things done that you need to accomplish to continue moving forward in your business. Okay. Does anybody have anything on that? Okay. We're going to keep on flying through. So I'm not, who was it that wrote the thing about I'm messaging 20 people a day about the business or following up? Was that Amber?
I wonder if that was Charlotte.
Charlotte? Okay. You're right. It was Charlotte. Okay. I'm going to see if she jumps on. If not, we'll come back to this, or I may message her privately, but I really wanted to address some of those things. But there were a couple questions around, I feel like I'm doing all the things, and I don't really feel like I'm moving forward, or am I missing something, things like that. And so here's what I would say. I actually had a conversation with someone about this a couple weeks ago. And it's without knowing your exact business, like there's not going to be a real specific thing I can say, well, it's definitely this, or you're not doing enough of this, or you're doing too much of this, whatever the case is. So I'm going to speak in kind of broad terms. But again, message me if you need more. Okay. So the conversation I had with this gal the other day, she was like, okay, I'm messaging people, I'm following up, I'm posting on social media, et cetera, et cetera. And so the thing I did with her is I said, okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you, and I've done this with so many people, you guys, and it always produces fruit. I want you to send me like 3 to 4 examples of your reach out messages. I want you to send me 3 or 4 examples of your latest social media posts, the ones you thought that were the best or you got the most interaction from. I want you to send me 3 or 4 follow-ups, like with potential. So you've already spoken to them about Plexus, but maybe they haven't ordered. Send me your follow-up messages. Like, let me see the interactions. And so a lot of times it's not that a person is not necessarily not doing something correctly, but maybe there's just a couple tweaks that we need to make in our verbiage. And so a book that I have recommended to people, did y'all get on the book study? What exactly to say with Phil Jones? Okay. I see a few nods there. If you have not gotten that book, I urge you to get that. Like, don't do that one on Audible. Yeah, I see it right there. Yeah. Don't do it on Audible. Get it in your hands, because it's something that I think you will reference over and over again. It's got some really powerful things. And I'm actually thinking about leading a book study for our team with that, so we can dive even deeper. But the question I have to people, right, is I want to see the verbiage that they're using so that I can just see, hey, what's there? And let me tell you, a lot of times what I find, I see a lot of times in looking at these messages is just simple things, but an arch or a theme of like being apologetic in their conversations. And what I mean by that is you can kind of read a lack of confidence in the way they're asking about the business or the way they're following up. It's almost like in their mind, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to be annoying. oh my goodness, I don't want to impose, or I'm afraid of what they're going to think if I say anything about the business. And you can literally sense it in the way they're using their words. And so a simple thing that I want you to do, if you feel like you're in that spot, get with Carissa, Megan, whatever leader that you really trust, and say, will you just look at some of these things and be brutally honest with me? Like, I want you to look at my verbiage and tell me your genuine thoughts on it. One of the things, guys, that's so important in this business is being coachable without pride. Amen. Because we all have areas to grow in. I mean, I'm 9.5 years in, and just a few days ago, I was thinking, you know what? It's not that I'm doing anything wrong, but there's some things that I can do better. And I think a lot of times it's easy to kind of get in a rut and think, I'm just going to crunch out these messages, and I'm going to crunch out these follow-ups because it's going to feel really good to do those things. And we almost look at quantity over quality. And that is something that I did in the beginning. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm going to message 20 people today. I'm on this. And then I found that my messages weren't effective. And so then I had to sit back and look at that and go, okay, this isn't working. And if I keep trying to do the same thing over and over again and expect some different result, that's not going to happen. So I've got to tweak. I've got to figure out what's lacking here. And any time that I have done this, y'all, and I've done this over the years with numerous leaders, numerous people, is apologetic, right? What I said. Or another common thing I see is too much words. We've all heard of like plexus vomiting, too much information and not bringing about enough curiosity. Another thing is not asking enough questions. So you get someone's interest, and then it's like you just kind of fly on them, all this information. You're excited. You're trying to close the sale instead of making it more relational and asking questions and getting more of a conversation going, and moving the sale. I say the sale, you know what I mean, like closing the deal on buying the products or signing up for the business. But just moving that along at a little bit of more of a slower pace with deeper connection. And so those are the three, I would say, most common things that I typically try to help people tweak or pivot. And yeah, I mean, we have to be effective in our skill set with reaching out to people and following up with people. They're two of the most important things. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. And so the other thing I would say, get with the trusted upline, send them some things, ask for honesty. Like, what do you see here? And the other thing that I've had lots of conversations about is if you really do believe that you're doing everything that you can. Because sometimes I've had people say that to me, and we dig in, and really they're actually avoiding some things. Like they're definitely doing some activities, but there's also a handful of things they're avoiding. Which, if that's the case for you, I want to encourage you when you sit down with your work time to do the things you're avoiding first. So if that's social media because you don't like posting on social media, or if that's reaching out to someone brand new about the business opportunity, whatever that is for you that pulls up those feelings of discomfort, do those first. Just get them out of the way, because how easy is it to procrastinate on the things we don't want to do and avoid those things and instead go, well, this is really important too. I'm going to do this over here. And this is in the back of your mind going, but I really need to reach out to this person. I mean, we've all been there. So I definitely want to encourage you in that. So that said, if you really do believe you're doing all the things, even the things that make you uncomfortable, we're not growing unless we're uncomfortable, you guys. We've got to be doing things that make us uncomfortable. And things are not moving. I would want to ask you, the question would be, how do you feel your influence is with your market and with the people around you? A lot of us need to grow in influence. A lot of us need to grow in how we connect with people. A lot of us need to grow in question asking and listening. A lot of us need to grow in being interesting. I know that sounds funny, but people will be interested if you're interesting, right? And so maybe there's some brainstorming you need to do. Like, how can I build more trust with people just who I am, nothing to do with Plexus. How can I bring value to the people around me, not just on social media, but in interactions you have? Like, where can I grow in my influence? And the Exactly What to Say book, that does have a lot of information in there about growing influence. And then another one of my favorites is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I've had numerous people read that over the years, you guys. And I promise you, there's always fruit that comes from it. Like, you will learn things from those books. And so, again, if this is you, or if it's people on your team that you're going, man, what if it is an influence issue? Guess what? That's something that we can grow in. It's just like any other skill set, you guys. About 90% of the things that I'm really good at now is because I failed, and I pivoted, and I tweaked what I was doing. Okay. I went from copy and pasting messages to people, sometimes leave it in the previous person's name, telling on myself, to spending personal time and really writing out some beautiful letters to people or messages to people, sharing my heart and sharing what I believed about them that got results. If I would have kept on with my copy and paste messages, I don't think I'd be where I am today. And so I think influence, building trust, bringing value, those are all things that we can grow in, just like any other skill set in this business. And so that is something that I would just take a look at myself in and ask myself those things. Where can I grow in my influence? Where can I bring value? Where can I build trust with my network and the people around me? And that might be another thing that you go to your trusted leaders about, and you ask them about those things too, with a open and, humble heart, and ask for that feedback, because I think that can be very eye-opening for a lot of people. Is there something that you wish you would have done differently? Oh, I love that question. This was an easy one for me. The very first thing that popped to my mind was being intentional with creating culture in my team from the beginning. Okay. Now, let me just tell you my culture spill here. First of all, when I think of culture in a team, like what drives that, it's habits, attitudes, and belief. So the habits of your team, the attitudes of your team, and the beliefs of your team. So when I first started thinking about culture, I was either a senior Ruby or an Emerald. I want to say I was Emerald. I know where I was. I was on a plane flying back from I think it was a leaders retreat, and I was reading Millionaire by Halftime. And the line that stood out to me in that book was the difference in a team of 110,000 is culture. And I was like, whoa, oh man, okay. Do I have culture? Like, I started questioning all these things. And here's the deal. We're going to create culture whether we're trying to or not. So it's going to happen regardless. So if we want to be intentional about it, then we have to be intentional about it. And we have to decide what do I want my team culture to look like? And so I pulled out my notebook and I just started jotting down all these different things. If I could create like my ideal team, what would it look like? And it was things like intentional reaching out, intentional messaging, a team that desired personal development, that was important to them to grow themselves. Oh gosh, y'all, literally like probably 20 things. I should have found that list and pulled that out. A team that was positive, a team that just breathed positivity and encouragement into others, a team who loved people and connection was really important to them, whether it was upline, downline, sideline, all these different things. And then I set out to be intentional about it, right? And so if you make a list of 5-10 things of what you want your team to look like, and then you start cultivating how you're going to bring those about. So let's say, for example, the intentional reach outs, right? So personal, intentional reaching out to people about Plexus. How do I make that a part of my culture? I come into my threads with my level 1 runners and I say, hey, y'all, look at these 2 messages. I sent this one out to Sarah and I sent this one out to Casey. And this is what I wrote to each of them. And I show them my examples. Okay. Hey guys, I did a reach out 2 weeks ago and she just responded to me and she said no. But let me tell you how I'm going to follow up with her. Let me show you my response to her, because I'm hoping to move that needle later on. It's basically leading by example in whatever culture piece you are trying to cultivate. But that is where you start, as simple as that. Because at first I thought, how do I create culture? That feels so daunting, but it's really simple. What do you want your team to look like? And then how are you going to demonstrate it to them? Personal development. Level one, my level one runners thread. Y'all, I just listened to this podcast. Oh my goodness. I got X, Y, and Z out of it. Hey, if everyone listens to that by the end of a day tomorrow, I'm going to send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. These are things I've actually done that I'm sharing with you. So it's about showing up, being in the trenches with them in whatever area that you are trying to cultivate, and then leading that, right? We can't just decide what we want it to look like and then not act it out ourselves. That is how you will create culture. And I'm talking to you, Jules, on here, and I'm talking to people who have smaller teams. Start early, because I felt like I had to do a lot of backtracking. I was looking at Emerald going, okay, what am I going to do with all these people? Like, I want us all rowing this boat together. And so I had to be intentional to help create that. And I think this is not just because of me by any means, but I think our team overall has a beautiful, beautiful culture of love and connection and trust and positivity and personal development. Like, there's so many things that I just admire about so many of you and so many of my leaders. And it's such a beautiful thing. So start early. And you can do that without a team page. Like, y'all heard me mentioning, some of the biggest ways team culture was in those threads, right? With my jewels, with my level ones. Those were really big for me in the beginning. I would do 1 through 3, like levels 1 through 3 threads, and then level 1 thread. And that is where a lot of that culture building would happen. And someone asked me about, like, what fruit have you seen in your business that you believe is because you've done X, Y, and Z? And this is one of the biggest things. And it's something I'm going to get back to. I don't do it near like I used to. And again, I'm still looking at myself and going, what can I do differently? Or what did I used to do that really worked well that I need to reinvent and start again? And so that is another thing that I'm going back to. And it's already in the works for me, is getting deeper in those threads with my leaders and with my runners, and really just digging in to a deeper culture with them. So one thing I want to share with y'all that has to do with threads that I've seen work really well. I have a couple level ones that are doing these things, and they are in threads with their runners. So they run them a little bit differently, but I just kind of want to give you some quick tips of things they do. It's a lot of what I've already shared: sharing messages, sharing a podcast they listen to, sharing how they got rejected by someone and how they handled it, sharing tips on how they're following up with their customers, all these different things. And it's really been beautiful to see, because you have other people that maybe were quiet for a little while, but as they see their leader like sharing these things, they start sharing. Or maybe they do an incentive where they say, hey, if everyone completes this bingo board, and one of them is sharing a follow-up message you did in the last week, sharing a post you did in the last week, sharing a reach out you did in the last week. It's like a fun little bingo board. I'm going to send you a fun pair of earrings or a Target gift card. Like, always doing, it's not, it's a variety of things, but it is culture creating. It's fun. It's activity. It's being in the trenches with your people. And those I've seen be really, really effective, you guys. And I can tell you, my leaders who are in the strongest momentum is coming more from threads and like face-to-face Zoom type connections and local connections. That is what is working right now. The teams that I'm seeing in most momentum, it is a lot of face-to-face, whether it's Zoom or local. And then in these threads, I used to think the team page was like the end all be all, but this real connection is coming from what we're doing right now and that daily interaction. So just some tips there. And then, so we talked about culture. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking through these. Oh, what special things do you do for your customers? So I don't do this every month. I probably do a customer, unless it's a new customer. So let me tell you what I do for like faithful customers. Probably like every quarter, maybe I will like send them a thank you card with maybe a Starbucks gift card. I'm real big on like a $5 gift card here and there. Number one, it's simple and people love and appreciate it. And you don't have to do a whole lot of thinking. And it's easy to get in the mail. Or like you can even do it like email, like e-certificates you can do. I had someone send me an e-certificate for Starbucks a couple months ago, and that was so fun to me. It was just this $10 Starbucks e-certificate. I was like, that is so thoughtful. And how easy is that, right? But it made me feel thought of and cared for. So that is one thing, like maybe every 3 months, just like a thank you. And then sometimes I'll throw in a new sample of something they haven't tried. And then for new customers, I always put together like a care package with multiple samples. So let's say they order the triplex. I'm going to send them 2 or 3 sticks of active, different flavors. I'm going to send them, if they ordered microbiome, flavor, I might send them black cherry to try. I'm just trying to get them more in love with Plexus, right? Lean samples if you have it. Kids X Factor vitamins, throw like 10 in a Ziploc bag or something pretty and put that in there if they have kiddos, and talk about the benefits of those, and write them a letter, like in a card, thanking them for ordering. You're so excited about their journey, whatever the case is. And then be there with them, you guys. I want you to hold their hand the first couple of months. Connection and retention go hand in hand. The more connected you are to your customers, the more likely you're going to retain them. That's for your business builders as well. So that is something I've been very consistent with. And I don't have the exact stats on this, so I'm going to throw it out there, but I'm going to say 80% of the time, I easily upsell people on new products because I'm consistent about sending them samples. And who didn't love active? I mean, come on. And as you're sharing those new products, you're also keeping interaction and communication open. And so you can say, hey, I hope you got that active in the mail. I sent you all 3 flavors. My favorite is starfruit guava. Mix it in about 10 ounces of water. I pour it over ice. Like you're just communicating, right? And then tell them the benefits of it. I wasn't real sold on active when they first announced it. I was thinking, oh, I know I love my pink drink. I'm enjoying that. But oh my goodness, let me tell you what this product has done for me. Like I'm an active lover. Like you will not see a day go by without me having one, sometimes 2. True story right there. But yeah, I mean, it keeps that connection open and that interaction open, and it's going to help them along in their journey, but also get them sold on more products because we have so much to offer. The triplex is amazing, but we all know that there's so much more. Collagen has been another great one that I've had really good success with upselling. And another thing, just real quick on that, is being very intentional about telling, and I usually put this in the letter because repetition's good, right? Tell them about perks, but I also tell them about perks in the card that I write them, because perks is a really great thing. I mean, my customers who are consistent every single month, they love perks. And I've had people get collagen for free and they love their collagen. And then when they run out, they're actually adding it to their order. So there's so many ways that we can get our customers more in love with Plexus. And the more in love with Plexus your customers are, the more likely they're going to want to share it with others. And so that's actually my main motivation, right? The more they love Plexus, the more they're going to be consistent product users, right? Which that equals points for us every single month. And then the more likely I can get them at some point to share. So it always depends. I get this question a lot. This wasn't one of y'all's, but do you share the business right away? Or do you always share the business? I always share the business. Yes. Now I will say I did sign up like a almost 80-year-old woman, and she was not going to be interested in the business. She did not have social media. But besides that one gal, yes, I always share the business, and it's going to look differently each time. Like there's some people that I sign up that they may not be interested in being a jewel in Plexus, but I think they've got, a handful of friends, and I can get them some bonus money. And maybe they end up with 5 or 10 people that love the products as much as they do. And they're senior silver, and they're so happy with that. So yes, I always share the business. Now I typically do that. We could do a whole call about that, you guys, but I typically do that within their first month when I'm going back to telling them, hey, y'all are talking about the subscription order from the beginning, right? Okay, that's super important because that is one of my big ways of follow up. When I'm signing someone up, I'm always like, okay, so this is what your subscription is going to be. It's going to go out on this month. Some people are terrified of subscription. So I'm always say, actually, I don't say subscription. I say order. Your order is going to go out on this month, but I'm going to check in with you a week before. Okay. It's not going to come to you, without you knowing about it because you might want to change products. I'm sending you out some samples. So you may want to add active. Never phrase it in that apologetic way, like, don't worry, don't worry. It's not going to ship without you knowing. Like, we're not going to do that. You hear how that sounds like apologetic, like, oh, they might want to cancel. No, you're going to check in with them because they may want to change their order. Let me tell you, you may want to add that active after you try those samples I send you. Like you're upselling in that positive, upbeat, confident way. So make sure you're writing in your calendar, whether it's your phone calendar or your paper calendar, like when you're going to be following up with these people. That is so important. If you give them your word, to make sure building that trust, then keeping your word. And so you'll see in my phone calendar, like who I've got to reach out to and when. And so that's a lot of times where I will approach the business. Okay, Sally, I know that you've loved your triplex so far, or you lost 6 pounds on your reset. Surely you can think of a few people that might want to do this with you, and approaching it like that. And then whatever the incentive is that month. So like if it's this month, you can tell them about the cash that they're going to earn. And then also, you ever heard of Lululemon? Like we're doing a gift card just for 3 orders this month. And so you're talking to them about the fun incentives and what they can earn with Plexus. Don't ever use words, or I don't ever use words about like going silver or you can hit the first rank like that. A lot of times that turns people off. We're literally just talking about what they can benefit from by bringing a few people in. I make it super simple, super laid back. That's another thing, just I'm going back a little bit with verbiage, that a lot of times I see people use like real businessy type words or network marketing type words. And I think that can be a turnoff to people, like going silver or hitting your first rank or put you in a 3-way chat with my upline, things like that. And people are like, I don't want to be in a 3-way chat with your upline. But if you say, hey, my friend Tamara, she's been doing this for a long time and she knows everything about the triplex. I'm going to just like join you guys together for a minute and she can just speak into that. See how like that doesn't sound scary. It sounds positive. It's y'all verbiage. I am a huge lover and believer in verbiage. It can make or break. You can say the same thing, but in a totally different way and get a completely different response from people. And so, yeah, just a little quick tip on that, like avoid those type interactions and you'll see a lot more success there. What else? Is this helpful, you guys? Yes. Okay. Does anybody want to unmute and clarify or ask anything before I move on? Not a one of you? Okay. Let's keep going. I find myself being more bold about the business. But did you ever face that roadblock when they said yes and you kind of panicked? Yes. Like you're all excited, you're sharing about the business, and then someone's interested and you weren't expecting that. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. Okay. Number one, I want to tell you that corporate is working on some tools because that's been a common complaint actually. And corporate is actually in process of working on some opportunity tools for us that are going to be really effective, short, and done really, really well. But that to me is part B. If you get someone interested, try this. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited and I cannot wait to share more with you. When's a good time for us to chat for like 10 or 15 minutes? I'm available today at 3, tomorrow, anytime afternoon. And I'll work around whatever's best for you. Get them on the phone or get them on a Zoom. A lot of people don't want to jump on a Zoom, but get them on the phone. They will hear your excitement and your passion and your desire to help them succeed. If you're comfortable with it or they are comfortable with it, I don't usually do this I don't normally do this, but I've done this for a lot of my people, is I will actually jump on a call with them like a three-way call. They don't always bring me in on that the first time, actually, typically not, but I'll do that sometimes on a second call if this is someone that is really, really interested in running with the business. It's just that great third-party validation. And it was real similar to what I said earlier. Oh my gosh, Tamara's been doing this for 9.5 years. She's one of the top earners in the company, and she's so much fun. You'll love her because of X, Y, and Z, and she will love you because of X, Y, and Z. I just want to connect y'all. Like, that's the route that we've done. I have done a lot of three-way calls in my time, you guys, and I would say they're always effective because you're really getting to know that person. You're connecting with that person. You're finding out what their strengths are, and you're helping them capitalize on those. And so, get on a call with your people. And if they're resistant to it, some will be. If they're resistant to it, check back in with them, keep the conversation going, and then bring it up again maybe a few days later. Okay, we've talked about a lot. I've sent you a few videos that I'm really excited for you to watch, like Going Silver in 7's a really good series. There's so many great like getting started stuff for people that are really interested in the business, but they really need to hear from you. They need to hear about your story, your passions, what you love. One thing, of course, that I'm sure most of you guys do when you're bringing someone on is letting them know, like, I'm going to help you with any customer questions that you get. I'm going to help you with your first few posts on Facebook if you want. Like, I'm here to help you with that. And so, giving them that reassurance and encouragement that you're going to really hold their hand and walk them through. That's been really effective for me. And then just, continuing that conversation and cultivating that relationship and getting them on the phone is so, so good. And then if you can't, do the three-way chat with your upline, if that's good, or a sideline partner that you work with, like whatever that looks like for you. Just getting that third-party validation, even if it's just like once or twice, just hearing someone else say, hey, I'm a cheerleader for you too. Here's been my experience. I'm so excited to get you started, and so on and so forth. That's just been really, really effective. I'm seeing lots of nods. So I'm hoping that some of you guys are already doing that. Okay. What were your mindset and posture struggles through your business? So one of the biggest struggles that I had was comparison to other people who I felt like were doing this a lot better than me. Or going a lot faster than me. Actually, when I was a gold ambassador, you guys, I did not have any runners. At that point, I really felt like I got to gold by myself. And I was sitting there thinking, well, no one is as excited as I am. Like, I bring these people on with high hopes, and darn it, they quit the products in 2 weeks, or dang it, I cannot get them to post on social media, not even one dang time. And so I felt really alone in my business. And gosh, that could be a whole call as well. But I almost quit. So I threatened to quit to my husband. I threatened to quit to my upline, who's named Nicole. And I remember my husband saying, I remember him saying after a few days of, I just don't think this is for me. He said, well, then just like either quit or quit talking about it. And I was like, dang, okay. Like that really hit me, because I was wallowing in, there was some self-pity. I'm just going to be honest, because I was looking at people around me and going, she is flying past me. She went silver yesterday and she went gold like 30 seconds later. Like, what is happening? I can't even get anyone to post on social media or say on their products for a month. And so I just felt really defeated. And so when he told me that, I just did a little bit of soul searching, and I thought, why am I wanting to quit? Like, what is at the root of this? And what I found was I was more scared of failing, like the pain of that, than the pain of quitting and wondering what if. So I was staying in that, like, what if I want this so desperately, which I did, and I fail? And what does failing look like to me? It means for me, it meant like not reaching emerald. And I was terrified of it. And so I thought I'd rather protect myself from that pain and avoid that pain than to push through on the hope, right? And so what I ended up finding, you guys, which it was definitely a journey, and it's something I struggled with for a few months, but I decided that I was going to quit talking about it. So simple. Because my husband said, well, just quit, or just, I don't want to hear about it anymore. And so it was realizing, you all, that my dreams for what Plexus could be, the hope of what Plexus could be, that was stronger than the excuses and the fear of failing. And so I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And when I found myself the most discouraged, and this wasn't just in this season, this is any time in my business. When I found myself the most discouraged is when I was mostly focused on the results and not the progress that I was making. I was too emotionally attached to the result of this one person, the result of this one customer, the result of this person's response to me when I reached out to them. If I'm focusing on the activity that I'm doing, the progress that I'm making, the gratitude of the things that are going well, that kept me positive and that kept me moving forward. Okay. So important. I really don't believe that the opposite of success is failure. I believe it's settling. And if I would have quit in that time period, I would have been settling. I would have been settling for where I was in my business, settling for the like what with Plexus, I was going to decide I'm just going to be okay with what this is instead of really going for what I deeply desired for my family at the time. And so that was something I had to overcome. Mindset. And let me tell y'all something tangible I did. When I found myself comparing, there's like two people at the time that I found myself comparing. I just went ahead and unfollowed them on social media. I refollowed them since then. But when that season was happening and I was finding myself triggered and I wasn't strong enough to overcome it, I had to tangibly not see what those people were doing. I had to tangibly not watch their success for a time period, because I needed to stay focused on my progress, what steps were, what dream I was going for, what rank up I was going for. And I didn't need to worry about them flying past me. And so that was huge for me. Comparison has been a struggle in my life just in general, way before Plexus. Like I've always dealt with just comparing myself to other people. And so that's just something I've had to really be aware of. And that was a tangible step I had to take in that time period. And speaking of comparison, we've all heard that comparison is the greatest thief of joy, which 100% it is. But to me, comparison is also an avenue to paralyzation. You will find yourself paralyzed if you're constantly looking at what someone else is doing, or should you be doing this, or this person has this quality, I don't have that quality. And so your comparison is always shining like negativity on you, right? Instead of sitting down and saying, what are my strengths? What are my qualities? What are my leadership attributes? I'm going to focus on those, and I'm going to work on strengthening my strength zone. I'm going to work on strengthening the gifts I already have instead of focusing on what I feel like I'm lacking in. I do not remember the exact quote. I believe it's from Maxwell, but basically it goes something like this. Like, we are so much better off spending time on the strengths we already naturally possess, our God-given gifts, than to try to, and like getting those from like an 8 to a 10 versus taking something that we're not really that strong in and taking it from a 2 to a 5. You are better off focusing on those things that you do really, really well and growing in that area. Does that make sense? I just think a lot of times we look at other leaders or other people's businesses and we go, man, if I only had X, Y, and Z, if I only had that, if I only led this way. And instead of really looking at ourselves and saying, what do I do well? What are my giftings? And I'm going to capitalize on those. And a lot of times that's where our joy comes from too, like in our business, is the areas that we are strengthening in. Now, I am a huge advocate for personal development, and we've got to grow our skill set in this business. But I just mean in the sense of like not focusing on what we're lacking in, like focusing on what our strengths are and capitalizing on those. But we all need to keep growing in our skill set. Amen. It's just like any other job, right? every job you have to have a skill set and you have to continually be growing. And network marketing is no different. We have to be growing in the skill sets that are really important. And a lot of those we've talked about, right? Our influence, our ability to ask great questions, to get connection and trust growing, bringing value to others, being interesting so that people are interested. Verbiage is huge. Like I said, I'm a big believer in my growth in verbiage is one of the reasons I'm sitting here with you today, because I was not that great at it, but it was something that I knew I had to be effective in. And so that is something, trial and error, like what am I getting responses to, and reading lots of books and seeing how other people did it and then making it Tamarified, you know what I'm saying? So yes, we're going to grow in our skill set. And also, you guys, I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, but talking about influence again, has anybody watched Brittany Howard's new podcast? If you haven't, I want you to start tonight. It is so good. And I was just talking to her the other day, and I said, one of the things I love about it is you really pack a punch in a short amount of time. So it's, typically 20 minutes, but it's got some really good meat to it. And it's all about influence and leadership, growing your own leadership, growing leadership on your team, which legacy business is. And what I mean by legacy business is something that is going to last for the long term, right? And growing your own leadership and growing leaders in your organization, those are the most impactful ways that you're going to grow a legacy business. It's going to last years and years to come. Yeah. So I want y'all to start listening to that. It's super, super good. I have recommended that to so many people as of late. And I'm going to pull her in for a call for our team here pretty soon. She and I have been chatting about exchanging calls. So that's something that I'm excited about. I was like, can I pay you? She was like, no, but you can do a call for me. And I was like, okay, fair enough, fair enough. So does anybody have anything they wanted to ask about? Okay, Sarah.
I do. So
Right.
when you're talking about, influence, are you meaning like there's people that I follow on Instagram, and I mean, every day it comes across my feed because of the algorithms, and pretty much every day I'm like, save this, and I want to use this picture, because I know when I'm posting in my stories, like trying to engagement, like, hey, if you have $20, like of just fun money, what do you spend it on? Nobody answered. And so is it like, are people just, I said, I don't understand that, or assume that not being influential because nobody's responding. And so,
So what I think about, influence is, that's a big topic and it's multi-layered. But when I say influence, I don't mean like an influencer on, that has 20,000 followers. What I mean is like asking, what am I gifted at? Where do I bring value? And this takes time. Like, this isn't ask one question and get a lot of interaction. Like, building influence is a time thing. Like, it's going to take time. So maybe you get a notebook and you start listing out, like, what am I good at? What do I enjoy talking about? What am I passionate about? And start like working on some material to share those things. So if you love cooking healthy recipes for your kids, do a reel showing you cooking a recipe with your kid and then linking it out and showing what you did. These are simple things, but over time, people start paying attention to those things. One thing that I just gave a gal on my team, this was a few months ago at a retreat, but she was struggling. She was saying very similar things, like, I'm not getting interaction, people aren't engaging. And so we put that list together. And one thing she started doing from that list was, well, this is interesting. So this wasn't a strength of hers. One of the things on her list was, people are always talking about the Enneagram, and I don't know what my Enneagram number is. I was like, okay, so we're going to create a discovering your Enneagram. So every week, she did this every Wednesday. We came up with a social media plan of what she was going to do. And some of it was marriage related. Some of it was kid related and cooking. And the big one that got the most interaction was her discovering her Enneagram. And so she started researching the Enneagram. And every week, it was every Wednesday, she would share like the number one and why, what she related to from that, but why she doesn't think she's a one. Or she reads a chapter on Enneagram 2 and she talks about the things that really stood out to her about that. And she now realizes that her aunt's a 2. And these are reasons why. Like, it was just like fun, but it was like a self-discovery journey. And she did such a good job with it. She has gotten so many new people interacting with her from this, because people were also going, I keep hearing that word too. I don't know what I am. I'm going to follow along. And it's been really successful. Now, does she have like 15 business builders from it? No, but she told me this the other day. She's in so many new conversations because it was interesting. People were drawn to it. She grew her influence kind of on a self-discovery journey. So that's just one example. But it came from a brainstorming list of things that she was excited about or could talk about forever. Like, if someone just said, Angie, what's something you can just talk about right now for 10 minutes? You don't have to make notes. You don't have to write a script. Like, what can you just share about that you love? What are those things for you? Sharing that through social media. And again, this isn't about growing a bunch of followers. Now, that will probably happen. When I started talking about my father's dementia and Alzheimer's a lot more, my followers grew by a couple hundred and I started sharing more about that. Because it was something that other people were interested in because they were going through the same thing. And so that's going to look different for every single one of you. But again, that took time. I didn't do one Alzheimer's post about my father and I grew, but as I did it consistently once or twice a week in my stories and post, y'all, I grew like 200 or 300 followers from starting that. And I got messages. You know what? I think my mom is in the early stages of that. Like, how were you feeling at the early stages? It opened up conversations. And that's relationship building, right? And so, maybe those people, I'm not like throwing plexus at them, but maybe those people, they're still following me, but they do see that I talk about active tomorrow or my reset post. And it can bring about new customers and new business builders. You never know what's going to bring people to you, but that is a way I have grown my influence, is by being vulnerable and talking about the struggles with my father. So does that answer your question, Sarah? Okay, perfect. And I think it would be so fun. Actually, I'm giving you homework. I want y'all to write this list out. I want you to write the list out of the things that you're interested in, that you love, that you could talk about. And I want y'all to put them in the thread for me. You can either screenshot it or type it up, however you want to do it. But I want to see some of those things, because I promise you that you can grow your influence from starting to talk about things that you love or that you're gifted in. I've seen it happen for multiple people. Okay. Anything else? Oh, there is a lot going on in the chat that I have not seen. Did I miss anything pertinent? I can't look at y'all's faces and read a chat. And I just noticed there's 24 messages. Okay. Oh, did you ever ask your leaders for feedback when things are quiet to see what you might need to do better on? Can you unmute and expand on that for me?
Hey, that's me. So when your chats are quiet or when things aren't just, like, do you normally, when you feel like, okay, is there a leadership thing that I'm either doing wrong or pushing too much or whatever, and trying to get a better understanding from your team, what they need more of you from? Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Okay. So I'm going to tell you what I told another leader just a few days ago. Same exact question, that her chats have gotten really dull. There is not a lot of interaction. And so this is what I've recommended this to about 3 people now. Going into the chat, and maybe you say something, I mean, I don't know the exact dynamic of the chat, right? But this is what I suggested to her, and take what you will from it. And then you can message me and we can talk about it more. I said, okay, it's dull, right? Oh, and Sarah, I want you to send that in our, because this is going to disappear when we jump off here. I want all y'all to send that into our like a messenger thread so I can read all those. Okay. So what I told her was, maybe the chat is dead. Maybe the chat is dead. Maybe there's people in there that are no longer interested. They were at one point, they've been in there for 3 years, whatever the case is. And so what I told her to do is to go in and write up a message. Maybe it says something like, hey y'all, I know this thread's been in here for several years. And I've noticed it's gotten a little bit quiet. I've decided I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to start a new thread called whatever it is. And I'm going to really start doing some fun things in there. I'm going to do some incentives. I'm going to do some, I'm going to really jump in with you guys and start sharing with you what I'm doing daily in my business. I'm going to start sharing some really good podcasts I've been listening to recently. Here's the deal. I only want you guys to be involved in that if your heart is truly there, and it's totally fine if not. But I just wanted to give you all the opportunity to jump into that thread if you want to, and it's totally okay if not. And she's doing a poll where it might say something like, I definitely want more business tips, or I think I'm good for now, or or you better add me to that thread immediately, or possibly I've been thinking about getting back into my business. Can we talk about this more? And so it's giving like her some conversations to where, and some people aren't responding at all. And she put a timeline on it. If I haven't heard from you guys in 72 hours, I'll just leave you out of the chat. If you change your mind, let me know. And then she's got an idea to follow up with them in a month and check back in, right? So basically, she's starting a new, fresh thread. Might have been 50 people, and now there's 5. But it's the people who want to be there. And I just recommended this just a few days ago to her. So we're still in the beginning stages of that. And she put me in there so I can help with like interaction and engagement and whatnot. But the other 2 I suggested to this, they've done this, and it's been very, very impactful, very impactful. They were discouraged that there weren't more people that were ready, but the people that are in there are engaging. And we've done some really fun things. Did y'all hear me mention that bingo? And I can send y'all that. If anybody's interested in that, I'll send that to you in that thread we're all in. But doing like a fun incentive with bingo and then sending out some earrings, or, hey, you guys, I just listened to this Brittany Howard podcast on X, Y, and Z. If y'all listen to this in the next 24 hours, it's only 20 minutes. Here I am again. I'm going to send you a gift card. Whatever it is, get some interaction, especially on the front end. Get some engagement and some fun things that you're doing. Share what you're doing, like really jump in there, and don't just be the leader of the chat, like be in that chat. You be in the trenches with them. And it's been really effective, you guys. It's probably one of the biggest tools I've seen in recent months in bringing engagement back. So does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I like all the fun ideas. That helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I used to do this monthly to where people, if it wasn't their month, I'd say, guess what? Okay, this month we're just making a new chat. I will check in with you next month. And we used to do that monthly. And then I got asked to can we just have one for a while? And so I've done that. And now it's just some refreshing. So
I definitely think monthly could be a little like head spin. But I think it's totally great. And to share why you're doing it, like I know some of y'all been in here for years, and I want to be respectful of you guys. If this is something that it's just not a good time for you right now, like I get it. So if y'all want to be involved, like awesome. We're going to do some fun things over there, but I just want to honor you that maybe this is not the season's not right, or maybe you have been thinking about jumping into the business again or the products again, whatever it is. It's probably a mix of both. And so I would love to have you over there with some of the fun things we're doing, but I get we're all in different seasons in life. But make sure that you are reaching back out to those people if they're not interested, like in a month, like give them some time. And gosh, I wrote down something that I used the other day that worked really well. Hold on just a second. Oh goodness. Well, I'll have to find that for you. But it was some verbiage that I gave her to use for the people who did not respond or said no, to follow up with them in a month. So I'll look for that and find it. I wrote it down somewhere, but Yeah. Oh gosh, y'all, I feel like I've taken up way too much of your time. It's 8:40. No. Okay. Thanks for shaking your head. No. I was like, I'm going to knock this out in 45 minutes. I'm getting all the questions. Sometimes I get a little long-winded. I get excited.
I think
Well,
all of these are powerful. I think a lot of us, because we're all in different stages, we're all going to grab something brand new and fresh, and I'm loving it. So you did great.
good. Oh, good. Okay. Okay. And I just, I don't want, oh, y'all are so sweet.
I have 5 pages of notes. I'm just saying.
Oh, good. Okay. That makes me so happy because I just looked at the time and I was like, oh my gosh. Speaking of honoring people's time. But listen, I want to encourage you in something. We all are going to have times in our business. There are seasons in our business where it's going to feel harder than others, or you're going to feel a little bit isolated, or you're going to feel like you're doing everything and you're going, I don't know what else to do. Maybe this isn't for me. We've all been through that, you guys. I've been through that numerous times in my business. And on the other side of that, I mean, honestly, like sometimes I think about when I share the story about almost quitting, like I'm sitting in front of you and I'm not telling you this to brag. Like anyone that knows me knows that I don't actually really even share what I'm about to tell you, but I'm the third highest earner in Plexus, and I'm a double diamond household. And there were numerous times in my business that I thought, this isn't for me, or I felt isolated, or I felt like I was rowing by myself. And I told y'all I wanted to quit. Like that came up more than once for me. I'm telling you that to say, just keep going. Now, don't just keep going doing the same thing you've been doing. If something's not working, figure it out. It is worth it. Whenever you need a self-pity moment, like some people are like, always be positive, always be positive. And yes, I land on that overall, but I'm giving you permission. If you are having a hard day in your business, go cry about it for 30 minutes. Go journal about it. Talk to your husband about it. Talk to your sideline about it. But set a timer, right? Like don't wallow in it because that will paralyze you. And I'm speaking from experience in this. Like it's okay to feel the hurt sometimes, or to feel like I thought that was working and it didn't, or I thought that dream teamer when they joined was going to go silver, in one day and go fast start ruby in a month, like, and she did it. So it's okay to feel those things. Just don't stay in them because that's where you get stuck. Instead, be coachable, be willing to learn, be willing to ask people not what am I doing wrong? That question, I like throw that question out. What can I do differently? What can I do more of? Go to your leader. What do you see that you see as an area of growth for me? Be honest with me. What do you see as an area of growth for me? When I first started giving people permission for that, and they did, I got a little scared. I'm like, okay, I just told them to be coachable and to basically ask me what I see. And then I was scared to tell them. Okay, but I am so glad I got over that, right? Because it can be such a beautiful area for growth for people, and it can actually bring you in deeper connection with your leaders and with your people when you're sharing with them, yes, here's an area I see for growth in you. Listen, I wasn't doing that well when I first started, and you're doing a good job, but I see a way for you to do it a little bit differently. Here's what I've learned in my experience. But opening that door to be coached, right? And then opening that door for others too, to coach them. So I think again, that's another leading by example. Let's say, Angie, that you went and did that, and you could come to your team and say, hey, I asked Megan to look at my business or to look at me personally or to look at my reach outs, whatever. And here's what I learned in that conversation. I was a little nervous to ask her for that, but I did ask her to be honest with me. And here's what I took away. I just want to open that door to you guys. If you ever want me to look at your reach out messages, your follow-up messages, your social media posts, or just something that I could see area for growth in, I want you to know that I'm here for that, because I've really learned that being coachable and personal development, like growing ourselves and growing our skill set, is so important in this business. So I want you to know I'm here for that. That's the way that I approached it with people. It wasn't like, hey, y'all ready for me to tell y'all what y'all can do different? But it was opening that door. And I've never had someone turn me down, you guys. That's not true. I have had one person turn me down many years ago. But she wasn't coachable. She's not with us anymore. Anyway, but just giving that openness to your people, because guess what? You've already done it. You've done it first, Angie. You've done it first, Sarah. You've asked for that to be poured into you, and now you're offering that to other people. That's a really beautiful way to go about it. So, well, I do care, Roberta. I do care. I do. I know I don't know everyone on my team personally, but I feel like the Lord has just given me such like a deep love for my team. Even if I don't know your kids' names, even if I don't know where you live, like I just have a really deep love for you guys. And so I mean it when I say like my messenger is an open door. If you ever need anything, I'm here. So I want you to go ask your people, tell them I sent you, that you are going to be brave and you're going to ask what they see you could do differently or more of or less of. I want to challenge you to do that. So we have 2 homework assignments, right? We're going to send our list in that thread of things that we're good at, we're gifted at, or we just love talking about, we're passionate about, what gets you excited. And then we're also going to, or I want to challenge you to get with someone that you really trust, whether it's Megan, Carissa, whoever it is for you, and ask them those questions and see if that conversation can get started for you all. And I'd love to hear about those if and when you do it.
Since this was recorded, can we share this with other people on our team? Or
sure,
since
I'm great with
everyone here earned it, but now that they weren't on the call. Okay. I was thinking of a few people.
Yeah, if you feel like that would be helpful for your team, sure, absolutely. All right. Well, guys, it was an honor. Thank you for hanging in there with me for an hour and 15 minutes. I really appreciate it. I've loved seeing your faces, and I'm here if you need anything. Okay. Much love. Good night, everybody.